New neighbors are admittedly very annoying, but one of the HOA board members is asking me to join her in taking pictures of their violations so they can be fined. I'm feeling very conflicted. Posted by DreamBean94. I thought you kind, like-minded folks would be able to help me out with this situation. We live in a townhouse community with HOA. There are about 4 to 5 townhouses per cluster, maybe 10 to 12 clusters, so it's not a huge neighborhood. Very quiet. It's the biggest reason why we moved here. The HOA is okay. I mean, I don't love having an HOA, but ours isn't as bad as some of the horror stories that I've read. They're not too strict and crazy, and we haven't had any huge issues with them. One of the board members lives 2 doors down. She'll call in parking violations and such, so homeowners get reminder letters, which is slightly annoying, but she's not crazy vindictive and doesn't start drama. We had new neighbors move in right next to us a couple weeks ago, and truthfully, they are so annoying. I can't believe that I'm the one saying this. Look, here's what's been going on. They have 2 little dogs who they've been letting run around without a leash in our shared backyard area. We all have back decks and a large lawn that's shared and owned by the HOA. I don't hate dogs, but I also don't like random dogs that I don't know running up to me anywhere, let alone on my deck when I'm just trying to chill. They chain smoke out back to the point where we can't open any of our back windows or doors because the smoke comes right inside. We also can't sit out on our own deck without breathing in their cloud of smoke. This issue is particularly conflicting because it is their deck, but at the same time, now their smoke is coming over to our deck and into our house. I'm trying to figure out a way to mitigate this, but haven't come up with the solution yet. We have a high-capacity HEPA air purifier that will run by the back door, but it's not enough to soak up all the smoke as it wafts in. They've been throwing their cigarette butts out onto the lawn. This drives me the most crazy. It's so gross. Like, why do people do this? They're loud and boisterous at all hours. The homeowner in particular is almost always out back on the phone, yelling loudly at whoever he's talking to. It could be 7 a.m. or 1 a.m. I mean, this doesn't bother me too much during the day, but our bedroom faces the back, and when he's out there being loud at night, it literally sounds like he's inside our bedroom with us. Now, for parking, each unit gets a 1-car garage and 1 outside parking space. There are also clusters of visitor parking around the neighborhood. All spots are labeled with a house number or V for visitor. The new neighbor's guests keep parking in private spots and or in front of the garages, blocking people in. It's not a huge inconvenience if I have to park in a visitor spot, but sometimes there aren't any available and I'll have to park all the way down in this grassy area on the other side of the hood and walk back, which sucks if it's hot as heck out or late at night. Apparently, they also did this to our elderly neighbor, and that bothers me because she really can't be walking a quarter mile and more when it's 95 degrees outside. My fiance and I have been talking about it since they moved in and are trying to figure out how best to approach. This issue is further complicated by the fact that they seem to be very new to the US, so they may have just moved here. I'm guessing that a cultural difference is at play here as well. We wouldn't want to offend them or make them feel unwelcome because of their culture, so we haven't spoken to them yet, and we're just trying to gauge if they're just adjusting or learning the ins and outs of community living in our neighborhood, or if all of this is going to be a long-term issue. So the board member lady approached me yesterday to let me know that she's already fed up with them and has started calling them in for violations. She said that she had already tried talking to them directly, but they were rude to her and dismissed her and haven't stopped with the cigarette butts and parking issues. Which is discouraging because we were starting to lean towards speaking directly with them as well, but now I'm wondering if it's even worth it if they don't give a crap. Board member gave me her number and asked me to start sending over pictures of any violations that I notice with them. I said, okay, sure, and was thinking, I probably won't partake in this kind of stuff. But then, again that day, the new neighbors had guests over who parked my fiance into the garage. I thought about sending the board member a picture like she asked, but ultimately decided against it this time. So now, I don't know what to do. Do we try talking directly with them first? And if so, what do we even say? We've admittedly never had to have one of these discussions with a neighbor before. Or do I start sending over the pictures? Or would it be best just to stay out of it completely? SOS, I don't want to be a crazy HOA person, but these neighbors are bothering me. Update. So, right after I posted this, the board member rang the doorbell and I went out and talked to her for a bit. She told me that she called the HOA property manager and asked them to address this issue today because she's fed up. Apparently, they've also not been picking up their dog poop on top of everything else. So I mentioned that my fiance and I are thinking about, just casually having a conversation with them about our concerns. But she said not to, that the HOA told her not to talk to them directly, which is a bit odd in my opinion. I'm not sure if they told her like that because they think that she's going to be a bit overboard, or maybe they just want her to leave them alone, or because they're actually concerned for her safety. They said it was a safety thing. Oh, and I also got more deets about the neighbors. They're not actually the homeowners. The homeowners bought the house and immediately rented it out. So they're tenants and the guests are staying here for the entire summer. Update 2. So this happened tonight. They sped around the corner and drove through the lawn to drop some stuff off at their deck. We had 2 kids over at the time, and if they were outside, they very well might have been run over today. OP also says, I was wondering about this homeowner and tenant HOA dynamic. The board member told me that the homeowners can and will be held responsible for their tenants' behavior. And I guess that, if the tenants keep acting up and their homeowner keeps getting fined, eventually the tenants will be kicked out? But I wonder how long it will take for this whole thing to play out. Weeks? Months? Will they leave willingly or will they need to be evicted? Should be interesting. That's a good idea with a box fan. We have a big box fan that we could put out there and it would probably help direct the smoke the other way. But then I'd feel a little bad because our elderly neighbor lives on the other side of them. The more I think about the parking thing, the more it starts to bother me. I mean, they must not care and have some sense of entitlement because they're repeatedly parking people in. I mean, hey, OP, the thing about this is, now that we know that they're tenants, that makes it even spicier. You really got to take this and report it to the top, and I would hope this HOA would do what they're supposed to do and not just let it slide. Now, they already said that they're handling it, and they already said that they've got this, don't talk to them, we got it, which means that, okay, something has to be going on. But what? I wonder if the HOA will do anything to these people because they could take them out of the property, kick them out, do whatever else, leaving that vacant, helping out the other neighbors, or if they'll keep them in there just because they are filling that house as warm bodies, and what will happen next. Way to go, OP. Now this story really drives home the point of how important it is to set the right example for kids and grandkids. You'll see what I mean. Karen and Ken galore in the adventures of shutting down a taco truck, posted by Fear Factory 007. My sister, 14-year-old female, recently just graduated the 8th grade and will be starting life in her dream high school after summer vacation. I am beyond proud of her and was there for every step of stress that she may have, same as my parents. During the final few weeks of school, my sister's teacher and our dad helped set up a full fun beach day in one of the more beautiful beaches in my city that didn't have a whole lot of restaurants, minus Starbucks and vending machines across the ways, so they also arranged for a taco food truck that has been rented for school functions prior. I wasn't able to go since there was no room in the car as my folks were carpooling as well, and I didn't fully feel like going as it wasn't for me. But this was all fine, as I'm getting ready to hopefully move out into my own place in a year or so. So my folks said this was kind of like a practice round of me living by myself. I've been home alone many times before, but this was a lot more fun than waiting a few hours until someone comes home from work. I did some chores, cooked some lunch, made a grocery list and fed the dogs. Then I did the laundry and the usual adult lifestyle. The only difference of this and when I live alone is the dogs would be out. My family was gone from 9 to 10 a.m. to around 3 to 4 p.m. And when they arrived, my dad helped me go to the store where I bought things for dinner and soda, just because I'm a big soda junkie, and I'm not going to lie about that. Upon arriving back and my sister finishing taking a shower from a full day in the beach, I was told of the events that followed. Scene starts: the beach. As I mentioned, the beach they went to is beautiful, mainly because unlike other beach areas, there wasn't any homeless people living in the area thanks to their safety measures, which is basically those spiky benches and a bridge that you can only drive on. You can't even ride bikes on it. This was also because the place the beach was at is kind of snobbish. My dad said that he's never seen a whiter neighborhood in our state ever, which is a kind of shock because of where we live, but also because of what happens later. It makes it a whole lot worse. Enter scene: students and taco truck. My sister's entire class was, as any other class today, mixed race from several different generations of families and culture. My sister's school was very open on not making people feel outcast in anything, teaching my sister Hebrew and letting them learn different religions being the few things that they did to make it all inclusive. In today's world, it isn't really or should be a shock to see a bunch of kids of different races hanging out together on the beach with their parents. The taco truck arrived and quickly started getting business with the parents and the students and teachers, with amazing meals. I actually had the same truck's food during one school event that I visited. It's bomb. And the things were all peaceful and fun in the sun during the summer with high school in the future. Interstage left: the cops. Also interstage left: the Karens. Everyone was apparently having a good time when two policemen walked over to the area and talked to my sister's teacher and our dad and those of the group who helped set this day up. According to the men in blue, there has been some complaint calls from the locals of a food truck selling food without a permit and loud noises. Now, in my city, you can get a permit for selling food, but if you have a tent or a table or a grill. But if it's a food truck, you don't need it unless you're parked in a park or near an area that's busy, like a hospital or a library. And also, a noise complaint on kids at the beach during a weekend when the beach has other people in it too? When questioning the logic, the cops got snippy to the teacher who was really just trying to find the root of the problem and explain what this is. As my dad said, the cop was straight yelling at the poor man, trying to make a good memory for his students. My mom, however, wasn't going to let this slide with a whimper. Oh no, my mother is a petty queen. Interstage right: my mom. Me and my sisters, we love the dramatic and theatrics that came straight from our mom, who got it from her mom. We love true crime and we love petty things with only a small drabble of tiny guilt-tripping petty. So, enter my mom listening to what's going down and hearing the cops demand they remove this taco truck, or else their beach would be like the other beach that has some homeless people in New York City. No offense to New Yorkers, I hear it's nice. And her response was, looking at the kids, seeing only 5% of the students actually got tacos, turned to the officers and asked, "So, do you want to tell these kids they won't be fed?" The cops stammer and try to say that it's not what he meant until he caved and allowed the kids to eat, but the truck will be locked up as soon as the last kid gets his taco. The line formed, the kids got delicious tacos, and then the truck was packed up and left. The mood was, for obvious reasons, sour after that, and everyone ate and they packed up and just left the beach. Scene end. I'm honestly more so annoyed at the hostility my sister's class got over a beach party. There was no way to know if there were rules, and even if there were, someone would have brought it up and not call the cops, or the cops would politely explain. Not to mention my dad and mom mentioned how they were pretty hostile towards some of the parents, but as soon as the white parents stepped in, their tones were less of, "I will cuff you right now." So the thing that I can take from this story is that you really need to watch and set that example for the kids, right? As an adult, I've been there before in the kids' shoes. I have my own now, and I've realized that they pick up on everything that you do. And just from reading this story, I can tell that this example is going to sit with them for a long time. They're going to think back to this and remember how they were treated and remember what went down with the police and with everything in this situation. They're going to know what happened, and this example is the one that was set for them. It's important as an adult, whether you have kids or no kids, grandkids or not, to set that right example for them. They will pick up on it and they will remember it. Call the HOA because my yard is devaluing your house? All right, I'll have it cleaned by the inspection date. Posted by Jumbo Face. This is a story of my mother's. She has always been incredibly hard-headed, but this sticks out a lot from my teenage years. Once a year, she always had us pull everything out of the garage. There's lots of boxes. My mom has a concerning amount of possessions, so we could go through it and clean and reorganize. This particular year, the couple who owned the house across the street from us, flippers, were in the process of selling their house. Unhappy with my mother's unsightly driveway covered in boxes soiling their good image, they made a call to the HOA. By the time my mother received the letter, the mess had been put away, but they decided to get her on a few other complaints, such as the bikes against the side of the house and the patchy gravel. She had 2 weeks to have everything up to standards. Petty and easily frustrated, my mother knew immediately who called, since the couple had come over and told her flat out with their renovations they were selling that house for way more than any other house in this neighborhood, and would appreciate if she respected that by keeping her property on par. For the next 2 weeks, every box from that garage was in our driveway. The couch and the living room TV came next. This was early summer, so it was perfect weather to sit in your yard in your short shorts and sports bra. My mom made sure to wave and smile every time they brought someone over for a showing. The final step came at the end of that 2 weeks, though. After the yard had been cleaned up and cleared by the HOA, my mom went to the local Walmart and bought a for sale sign. She wrote about 1/4 of their ridiculous asking price on it and finished off with a big "sold" written across the front and stuck it out in our yard. No clue what they ended up selling their house for, but it sat empty for a while, so I'd assume it was below offer. This is amazing because you think it's going to go one direction, you have no idea that it's going to go the second. They literally put everything out in the yard when they were showing the house. Like, that's just genius. And on top of that all, mom has an awesome plan to just devalue the whole thing in general, putting 1/4 of the cost of the house on the side. I didn't even know that was coming. That is icing on top of the icing of the cake. Way to go, OP and Mom. Y'all are awesome. Let me know what you think too. HOA Karen lies about being the HOA president, tries to charge us fake fees. You gotta hear this story. Click it on your screen so you do not miss out, and I will see you there.